You've made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. Before we dive into this powerful episode, please remember to subscribe to our channels and to give us a 5-star rating on iTunes and to continue hustling. This episode is sponsored by Imaging Services, Chiro Health USA, Chiro Moguls, Pure Chiro Notes, Titronics, Sherman College of Chiropractic, New Patients in a Box, the Influencer Authority Podcast Training, Mango Voice, Community Healthcare Resources, Life Chiropractic College West. Let's hustle.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 401 of the Chiro Hustle podcast. I am your producer, Luke Millette, and here's your host, James Chester.
So today we had the opportunity of interviewing Dr. Vivek Soham. And if you want to understand, the future of chiropractic is in education. Stay tuned.
You put in some miles.
Welcome back. This is another episode of the Chiro Hustle podcast, episode 401. We are now in the 400s. I feel like we're all grown up now. But today we have Vivek Soham coming in out from the Bay Area, correct?
Yeah, that's where I'm in San Diego right now. That's where my practice is.
Okay, so Southern SoCal.
Yes.
All right. Well, before we get started with episode 401 of the Chiro Hustle podcast, I just want to let everybody know why we do what we do. Well, number one, we protect the sacred trust. If you don't know what that is, go and do a search in your favorite search engine for BJ Palmer's Sacred Trust. We protect freedom of speech. Now, as they say, more than ever, that's important. And the Second Amendment's important. And as we could transition into more of why we do what we do, we support subluxation-based chiropractic. Subluxation is something a lot of people need to have more support of, because the tenets of this profession are subluxation based, innate intelligence, universal intelligence. And when somebody gets adjusted, it connects man or woman the physical to man or woman the spiritual. And that's a very powerful thing. And you being an upper cervical chiropractor, I'm sure that resonates with you.
Yeah, it does.
Amen. So first things first, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I love your accent. You said that you were born in Florida and you spent 18 years over in the UK.
Yeah, just
Nice.
north of London.
So why chiropractic, man?
It was my introduction to chiropractic was very early in life, as many people find it, and it's usually a story that impacts themselves or someone they love, and mine's no different. When I was 9, my mom got in a horrific car accident, and it left her unable to do a lot of things. And as a single mom, supporting me, my sister, and my grandma, when you're unable to go to work or do certain things, it takes a toll on you. And healthcare is free in the UK, and still no solutions. Chiropractic still is not covered under the free healthcare in the UK. And after trying so many different things, it was that chiropractor she went to. It's the one appointment she took me to, because she couldn't find someone else to look after me. And to see someone take away so much pain from your mother's life with their hands, I was like, that's magic. That's what I want to do. And I was a very stubborn kid. Everyone told me to broaden my horizons and what I could do, and I wanted to be a chiropractor. I was like, I'm gonna go be a chiropractor. I've already picked out what school and everything else in between. And when the time came, I out of my 5 slots, I only picked 2, and I put chiropractic universities in both of them. And everyone's like, most people don't get their first and second choice. And I was like, there's only 2 in the UK, and the only 2 we're going to go with for now. And yeah, that's how I got into chiropractic. It was the power and the impact it had on my mom's life and indirectly mine.
So let's transition to the time you get to chiropractic school.
Yes.
And track us to where you are today.
Oh, that's a roller coaster of a journey, and I'm sure many of my colleagues will tell you chiropractic school is not for the faint-hearted. I actually cycling back a bit to when I was 14, I wanted to go to chiropractic school in the in the US, in California. I'd shadow a bunch of chiropractors, and they said, you need to go to Life West. That's the place you need to go to. And then came decision time. I wanted to stay closer to home and support my family if need be, if I was there. So I started chiropractic school in the UK. I didn't go to the US, did 3 years, and then secretly applied to see if I could get in. And I did. I come home one Christmas, tell my mom that I'm going to chiropractic school in the US. And she's like, it's about time. Like, what do you need? How can I support you? And again, we didn't grow up with much. It was a very like on the breadline kind of childhood all the way up until my adult life. And so it was just like the support was great, just that whatever I needed. Get to Life West and thinking I was going to start right in the middle of their program and be in clinic and I'll be done in no time. And unfortunately, I'm going to say fortunately, because it opened up a lot more doors and changed my mindset. I had to start the program from scratch. So did another 3 years of chiropractic school. And in the times of doing classes that I had already done, I spent a lot of time trying to round myself as a better adjuster, as a better business person, and doing anything and everything I could get my hands on. And then I graduated actually 3 years ago, last Tuesday, 3 years ago in 1 week. June 7th. And it's been a whirlwind. I've slept on couches. I've gone from practice to practice, just trying to find the groove and get into an office. I've had a string of, I wouldn't say bad luck, but just poor timing of certain things. And yeah, now I opened my office in October of 2020. I signed the lease in August of 2020. So coming up on 2 years. And I'm now here in sunny San Diego. And from when I graduated, I've slowly moved further and further south. And my mom jokes, you can't move any further south, otherwise you'll be in Mexico. But yeah, and extremely grateful to be able to just continue serving my community and mankind.
So let me ask you, are you the first doctor in your family?
I in my immediate family, I think so. I don't know anyone in my first cousins or anyone else.
So what was it like for your mom when you finally crossed the stage and got to be a doctor?
No different, actually. Would you believe? She was just proud. My mom always said, do what makes you happy. She never forced me or my sister to do anything else. She said, if you want to go be a garbage man and make 50,000 pounds a year, and if that's what you want and that's what makes you happy, go do that. I will support you in whatever you want and be content in that. And I chose to go be a doctor, and right, people think stereotypical Indian. My mom, a doctor, lawyer, and engineer, and my mom and my sister are definitely some of the most humbling characters and people in my life. And my mom will definitely remind me that on a weekly basis. Even if things are going amazing, she's like, your head's going to be too big to fit through the door. So it's like, it was a humbling moment, because even now she still doesn't listen to me to look after her health. But it was a sense of like, hey, we just spent the last 20 years, just under 20 years trying to get to where we are. And it was just such a breath of fresh air, and to see her face, and she didn't change how she looked at me or addressed me. It was just like, yeah, just love and a sense of pride.
Yeah,
in the task, not the actual degree.
Yeah. I think that love is love, and sometimes tough love and direct love is better than the giving somebody too much confidence love.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, moms know best, right? So 3 years into practice. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Let's talk about some things that you have done in the marketing world that have worked and some things that didn't work. So we can maybe help some people that are starting up, not to maybe do some of the things that didn't work for you and maybe give them some advice on things that have worked.
yeah. I've looked through so many associateship contracts and gone through so many lease agreements, and a friend's been bugging me for years since I graduated. After I slept on his couch for about 2 months, to to write this in a book, and when it's done and I get to the first paycheck, publish the book. And I'm 1 in 26 for attempts at making money from when I graduated, just to sustain myself, not like make it big. So I've definitely, that's 27 go arounds, and the one win is my office. I just, from lease agreements and rental contracts to getting things to building, where like saving money, like I still have half of my, when I first opened up, everything was secondhand in my office. I would now say 90% of my office is still all the same secondhand furniture. I just did very well on OfferUp, in Craigslist, in thrift shopping. Like, if you put value into it, you can make it look as good or as bad as you want it to be. And patients don't know any different. I see a lot of offices just like try and splash as much cash as they can to look good, but not focus on getting the correction. In NUCCA, it's what we hammer down. It's like, that's what's going to get people healthy. That's why we started this. You've got to focus on delivering really good corrections, pre and post x-rays, going through that. So whatever technique you practice, because I think that's how patients are going to refer. That's how people are going to, even if it's the only patient you have that day, make sure it's the best patient that day. Because that's all that matters. Even if there could be 50 every time, it's like, I don't see 50 a day. I see about 60 a month, 70 a month, in between there right now. Now this is the busiest I've been, but I'm still making sure that work ethic is there for each patient. But yeah, like, don't go too flashy. I've seen a lot of my cohort just go real big right out the gate. And that was the first one. I think a lot of people, like, they wanted it to look good. And the other side of things is, I would buy an office. I know it seems like I definitely, I'm an entrepreneur, but I would buy an office. I'd go buy a business. Find a way to continue someone else's legacy and build your own into it. There's an abundance of patients. We don't need more offices. We need more doctors. We need more people to look after people. And instead of like fighting and competing, I would totally, and I'm not to say that I'm fighting and competing right now. There's only one other NUCCA doc in the county, and maybe a second, maybe a third, who sort of does NUCCA and doesn't. But even if in general, like, we have over 1,000 chiropractors in my county, I still don't see that there's a scarcity in that. And it's the same thing with docs. Like, we even when we're in school, like, we say one thing and do another. And I think it's, if we come from a place of abundance and truly hone into what are the population that we're trying to serve. You want to talk some business tactics?
Of course I do.
Right? Like, it's like, who's your ideal client? Like, I highly doubt all 1,000 chiropractors, maybe 4, have the same ideal client. Maybe. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, there's micro niches within niches. And like, my ideal client is actually my mom, my grandma, my sister. I know exactly they're the people that I want to serve every day, day in and day out. Young professional women trying to start a family, sandwich moms, and my grandma, who God knows how, she's 77 now. I don't know what she went through as a female and what she went through as a person in the times from then till now, it's like those are people who are underserved in my eyes, and those are the people who in my life bring me joy. So I want more of that in my life because they fill my tank up, so I don't get tired when I go home at the end of the day. Like, sure, that's the ideal patient. And here's the flip side, because we get taught that a lot in chiropractic school. You'll take anybody and everybody who wants to walk through your door. Don't be super selective in the beginning, because you also have to keep the lights on. You have to pay the bills. So then we go super like, oh, I only want to work with these people. And then it starts to hurt us in the end. So, and I'm guilty of that. I'm like, I don't want that patient. Like, they seem troublesome. They keep asking me for discounts and this and that. And sure, that's not something we want in the beginning. It's not an ideal situation, and we don't want to get trapped into certain things. Don't let patients dictate how you look after them. But yeah, like, find a happy medium. I just described two massive ends of the spectrum, and that happy medium is know what you're working towards and build something sustainable.
You've made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. This episode is sponsored by Imaging Services, Chiro Health USA, Chiro Moguls, Pure Chiro Notes, Titronics, Sherman College of Chiropractic, New Patients in a Box, the Influencer Authority Podcast Training, Mango Voice, Community Healthcare Resources, Life Chiropractic College West. Let's hustle. So I know there's probably a lot of people out there that will watch this that are not chiropractors or in the chiropractic profession. Let's just share with those people what NUCCA is and why you decided to practice that technique.
Yeah, it was just such a good marriage of this Eastern and Western philosophies of how to approach health. And chiropractic is that in itself. We essentially look at the brain to body connection. Simply put, we map all the neurology, and we see if it's coming from the upper portion of the neck, if it's knee pain, low back pain, headaches, migraines, hormonal imbalances. It's what those three are the most common in our office. And understanding how that misalignment at the top of the spine impacts the brainstem, which is responsible for vital life functions. Things like cardiovascular health, respiratory, gut hormone imbalance, auditory, visual. And then it's like using NUCCA's protocol of analysis to be super precise, that measuring down to 1/4 degree, 0.5 millimeter. There's no twisting, popping, or cracking. There's a lot of evidence and science behind it, which right, there's the Western philosophies. There's a low force tonality of it with your Eastern influences, and we take pre and post X-rays. I have a CBCT machine in my office now, so we do full 3D imaging, and we'll show you those changes after the first adjustment. And then our goal is to keep you there. Let's create some independence. You hold your alignment. If I'm not doing my job, then this isn't for you, then let's get you to the person who can help you, versus just keeping you coming back. Most of our patients hold their alignment for about 3 to 6 months at a time. I'm trying to get to my mentor's level. He's had patients 3 to 5 years at a time. They come and get checked. They don't get adjusted necessarily. And that's what's powerful. I'm like, your body is super intelligent, and it's like, let's try and get you as independent as we can and informed to make your own health decisions, because we're so drummed into like, what does the doctor say? What does the doctor say? Do I need this? Do I need this? So yeah, it's like, that's sort of the premise of what our office does, and what NUCCA does is just sort of like, here's a solution. Let's get you out of pain. Let's keep you out of pain. And then some. Let's involve the wellness and then set you on your way.
One of my favorite things that I've ever heard about upper cervical care is that holding is healing.
Yes.
And it's almost the biggest gift is to go to see the chiropractor and not need to get adjusted.
100%. Like, I high five my patients. I'm like, It's like going to the dentist. If you have cavities, you don't want to hear that. If I have to adjust you, you don't want to hear that. Like, this is not what you need.
Super cool.
Yeah, that's best line. Holding
So
is healing.
let's talk more about you and what you're doing for your personal health, because I think this is one of the questions when I meet people, like, that's my favorite part. So what are you doing to take care of yourself, and how are you staying healthy?
That's something that younger docs or anyone doing business needs to look after themselves. I run myself ragged during these last 3 years for sure, and trying to just make sure I stay healthy and in alignment for my patients, so I can give some good care as well. The usual. I go get checked regularly. I drive up to Newport Beach, about an hour and 45 minutes north of me. There's a doctor there, and find a great chiropractor you trust and who's gonna help you with your health goals. And I eat as healthy as I can. I've gone through some pretty major health changes in the last year. About September last year, I found out that I had a genetic defect with my heart, with one of the valves. And if anyone sees athletes who get heart attacks and like they're super healthy and then they're in the middle of a game, and how does that happen? Well, I used to be an Olympic level athlete and competed on different stages, and so I never deconditioned my heart. So with a faulty valve and an thicker heart muscle, I started to mess around with the valve of the heart, and it definitely was scary at 26. And started to be a bit more serious. Went gluten-free, which was an absolute game changer. Helped sort of recondition the cardiovascular system just from that perspective, and started supplementing a bit differently, and started eating meat. I was a vegetarian since birth till 26. My mom was not happy with that decision. Neither was my dad, actually. And yeah, so I've been a fully fledged meat eater. Just make sure that what's going into my body is as clean and sustainable as possible. And then I play a lot of golf. If I'm not surfing, I'm playing golf in my spare time.
Well, one of the things I tell you is a lot of people don't think of the trail of this way, but I've been told that the protein source from meat that's the healthiest is the ones with less legs. So there's ones with 4 legs, there's ones with 2 legs, and there's ones with no legs. And I've been told that the healthiest versions are the ones with no legs. So maybe that's something for you. But the other side of this is I've been told that it's not what you eat, it's what you eats. And
Yes.
you have to be considerate of where you're sourcing the protein that you're eating as well. So those are just tips for people out there. The healthier for your heart, less legs, and you have to pay attention not just to what you eat. You have to be mindful of what you eats, and that's the part you never know. So you have to source responsibly.
Yeah, I cannot agree with that statement anymore. And say if I got to create an entire additional line item in my budget for how much more expensive it is to be healthy. But that's one thing I would just say, just like, don't skimp out on your health. Like, your body's in your investment. It's your vehicle that's going to last you your lifetime. And there's just being diligent with what you put in. Clean sources.
Sell the car and walk everywhere. Just eat the best fuel you can find.
Yeah.
So let's ask a couple questions about where you think. I know you're a new practitioner, but where do you hope to see yourself positioned within chiropractic going forward in the next decade?
Ooh, great question. I definitely want to get back into teaching. I've done a lot of guest lecturing at chiropractic colleges and some UCs in California, and it'd be nice to give back. A real passion for teaching, If you couldn't tell, I like talking to.
No, you're brilliant, and I love chatting with you. And I think that you have a great message, and we all have a role. And if you see yourself in the academic perspective, there's nothing greater than make influence on the future of this profession through leadership.
Yeah,
leadership in these institutions that are losing it.
It's sad to see the state of some of the schools, like where the fountainhead was and where some of these colleges, the direction that they're going in, and just to bring back, like you said, that sacred trust, bringing back like the chiropractic. Like and Vijay always said this, it's not necessarily what technique you practice. And I say this to students too. I'm like, I don't care what technique you practice, as long as you're objective in what you do and you say and prove what you're going to do for this patient, then go and do it. It doesn't matter. Let's get sick people well. And
that's what makes chiropractors artists.
And I feel that, yeah, we're losing that. So like going back into teaching would be great. I definitely am taking more of a role in UCRF, the Upper Cervical Research Foundation, on the editorial board there, and doing a lot more consulting. So producing a bit more research and getting NUCCA, in this case, not just chiropractic, out there. We're the largest upper cervical organization, but I feel like complacency can also be our death, just because we are the biggest doesn't mean we'll always remain the biggest. And it's just getting into different avenues of leadership to probably be able to serve in the next decade is where I'm planning on being.
I love it. Servant leadership. It's very important in chiropractic. I used to go out and did 600 spinal screenings in 36 months, which was 2.5 years. And there'd be days, I'd tell you, Vivek, I would wake up on like my 21 day in a row, or my 27 day in a row out of 28 days in the month. I would do 28 a month for 2.5 years straight. And there'd be days where I'd wake up and I'm like, what the hell am I doing? And then I would be like, this was my mantra: go forth and serve, go forth and serve, go forth and serve. Once I found myself to be a servant, I never had those thoughts again. And that's just it, is when you go in and they say working in the trenches, like going after it, like go forth and serve and just be a servant, and then be the best at that. I was talking to somebody earlier and they were asking me like, how did I get to where I was? And I said, I did every job no one else wanted.
Yeah.
And I became the best at every job no one else wanted. And now, guess what, Vivek? Everybody wants to start a podcast. Nobody wanted to do a podcast 4 years ago, man. Not in chiropractic. But now I think I'm glad, because, we need more people to disseminate information. We need more people to hold it down and to share this truth and to share the brilliance of chiropractic.
Exactly.
And I love this episode. We have about 3 minutes left, so I want to go lightning round with you.
Okay.
Who are some of your heroes? Who's inspired you to become the man you are today?
Even when just people ask me that question, I've still like mind boggled. I wouldn't say it'd just be my grandmother and my mother, heroes. Just like, I wouldn't say just values and ethics. That's it. Let's go that lightning round.
Yeah. If you could sit down with one person and have lunch, dinner, or coffee from any time in history, chiropractic or non-chiropractic, who would it be?
Ooh. Nelson Mandela. He had just grandmother just resonates with me on that one. He has a way of bringing people together in such divisive times, and it would be amazing to absorb that.
Brilliant. Great answer. I believe that very much a diplomat and a world changer.
Yeah.
What are you reading right now?
This is rarely. I'm not reading anything right now. The last thing I read though was the Breakthrough Code, which I did pick up in Puerto Rico from Mr. McCarthy. So
yeah, it's a great book.
But I'm on a hiatus. I need to dedicate some time on some other stuff. Implement.
What are you listening to right now on Spotify?
I am on one of those weirdos. I have Apple Music because I used to work for Apple. So I always go through a J. Cole vibe on a monthly basis. This is my J. Cole week right now. There's some grit, there's some hustle, there's a bit of the world against me. Like, let's get up and let's rock this shit.
Well, I certainly appreciate the hustle. And hobbies. What do you do? What do you do for fun outside of being a world-changing chiropractor?
Yeah, I play golf. I teach. I surf a bit. Serve on some boards of some nonprofits. Always doing some fundraising. And then, like everybody else, I honestly do like to binge watch some TV shows. White Collar was a good influence in my life when I was younger, and every chance I get for like 45 minutes, I'm eating, or like it's time to take a break. 45 minutes, I am watching an episode. So I'm reliving the past right now.
Well, I love how real you are. I love how dedicated to your career you are. I think you're quite an amazing guy, and I can't wait to see what happens over the next decade for you. And anything I can do to support you, please let me know. If people want to know more about you or work with you, where can we send them to?
You can go to the website, nimbusbrainspine.com. We have a little question section there, or shoot me an email at Dr. Soham, that's Dr. Soham, that's my last name, at nimbusbrainspine.com. And yeah, I'd love to connect. I get a lot of people reach out, and you don't have to be in the same city or state. We can have a conversation. Let's have a conversation.
And last question for you. People love this episode, this part of the podcast episode too. This question is, give us a miracle story to close out with.
Oh, miracle story. This patient, scientist, very methodical. This is when I knew like chiropractic just blew my mind. Was a 47-year-old female patient, perimenopausal, lost a bunch of weight. And I'm giving you background just because you'll understand like how this all connected. She comes to me for neck pain. She's been seeing chiropractors for on and off for years, about 20 years. Suffers from Graves' disease, had a completely ablated thyroid, close to like 5% of her thyroid left. And I adjusted her on the first visit. 4 weeks later, she was holding for the next 3 weeks. Adjusted her on the fourth, and she's like, I would hit you if I could. Thought I was done with my period. But it was pain-free and lasted only a few days for the first time in my entire life. And I thought the miracle story sort of ended with that. And fast forward to 12 weeks, and she said, by the way, every month for my monthly check-in, I've been taking Synthroid for my thyroid, which I don't have. And she said that her medical provider reduced it by 75%. So 5% of her thyroid had started producing 75% of her requirement. And she'd been on this for over 20 years. And the body is truly intelligent. And it just gave me more conviction for the work and what I do in NUCCA, and to get those consistent results day in and day out. I see that a lot now, but that was the turning point, the conviction.
So I'm going to close out by telling people this. You need nothing extra in your body. You simply need no interference. And Dr. Vivek, I want to BJ Palmer you. I love you because you love the things I love. And with that, go to nimbusbrainspine.com. reach out to Dr. Vivek. And like I said, once again, I look forward to a bright future for you. And thank you for being episode 401 of the Chiro Hustle podcast. It was a real pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, have a great day out there in Southern California. And as soon as this is out, we'll send you some links. Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Bye for now.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Chiro Hustle. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.